What's up and welcome back. I'm John Stark, back from MovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic, and today, this is season 1, episode 2 of Dune Prophecy. It's an HBO show that airs also on Max, where it has audio description. I'm gonna continue to recap the show because, and I mused last week about, I talked about sort of how the show is a bit of a mess, especially for blind audience, being thrown things. And I decided not to rewatch because we shouldn't have to rewatch everything. People don't just go around rewatching things naturally, like all the time, because they didn't understand them. Sometimes you want to rewatch something because you want to rewatch it, not because you're confused. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, not because your first watching of that film was like, I didn't get it. What? you know, Too many characters, too much, my brain is overloaded. Like, no, I shouldn't have to just keep repeating and rewatching something over and over and over to make up for what a screenwriter could have done, you know? Like pace themselves. And I've heard some people talk about Dune Prophecy, and it's not the same way people are talking about The Penguin. So I feel like enough sighted people are seeing Dune Prophecy and being like, yeah, it's not the movie. So I don't feel like having this conversation is like blasphemous either, but this show is really hard to follow. um they still have a ton of characters, and I feel like we got more. Am I crazy, or did we get more in the second episode? I felt like people just came out of nowhere. I mean, we still have Desmond, who's still like answering for his horrific crime at the end. He's like, I did this all for you. And Mark Strong is like, I didn't want this. I didn't ask for that. They put him in like suspension jail, and it goes into the whole thing I said last time about like, well, if you guys are anti-technology, you certainly use a lot of technology. like, your suspension jail obviously is technology. So, what are we doing? What are we doing? And then somebody tries to blame the kid's death on that robot thing that he had, the thinking machine. And the boy's father is like, no, I'm not, no, that's not, no, that's not, no. He's not having that either. So he and Mark Strong have words, and he wants to be able to see. He hears that somewhere out there is the killer, and Mark Strong just refuses to give him up because he's got in his voice this character who I swear to God I didn't know who she was in the first episode. I guess he has. I'm gonna guess this is a wife, who comes at Coralie or something. Comes in and it's like, well, maybe we shouldn't be so quick to dismiss our friends. You know what I'm saying? Like he says he's devoted to us, and there's something about Desmond's mentality too, because he's really chill the whole time. And when you see what he can do in the first episode, and you see how chill he is, you realize this man has obviously seen a future. The question is, can that future be changed? Is, I think, what the sisters are going to have to go through with. I know her name's not Valeria, but it starts with a V. And Tuya. What the sisters are going to have to figure out how to do in order to save their sisterhood is, what is it that he saw, and is there a way to change it? And up in the sisterhood, we get more sisters, if that's even possible. Some hint of what, like, Theodosia's like, you understand my condition, right? And I was like, ooh, no, dear Theodosia, I don't even remember you. I don't know what to say to you. Like I kind of remember, like, in the first episode hearing the name Theodosia, but like, no, I don't know what you're. I actually thank you for addressing that problem. I don't know what it is. Can we please talk about it? And there's this girl that's like, wants to reconnect with her mother. There's like a whale tooth. Man, we're talking about whales a lot. There was a guy that was trying to sell like whale shit, and like the first thing I thought was just like like a passing reference to, and now we've got whale tooths, and I'm like, what's up with whales? Like, are we gonna get to that? Are we gonna anyway? So they go through this process called the agony, which is does not work out well and is borders on horror actually for the series. It's really how it explains why they're able. This and the graphic sex scene are two reasons why you're like, this is why it's on HBO. you know, um, because both of the movies are PG-13, and neither one of those things would be in the movie. Like the scene, this agony sequence that sort of devolves, and by the way, the boiling bodies. Like, think about how many things. It's like, no, no, this would not be in Dune. Um, but obviously they're trying to play it a little bit more broadly so they can make the big bucks. So a Dune Prophecy gets to go darker. Uh, yeah, the agony. Surprisingly, something called the agony doesn't go well. Where's the ecstasy when you need it? Um, and I don't know. We still the two people, the ones that were the one that was doing the drugs and the other one's Sebastian, or is his name Sebastian? I don't. They're still in here somewhere. There's a sex scene which is at first um I the first thing that they used to describe the sex scene was thrusting. And I was like, God damn it. I just really like I've never in my life heard the term thrusting so much as I did after going blind with audio description. It is the most overused word in every single sex scene. It's always thrusting. But then there was but then they didn't reuse it. They found other adjectives, so I got less upset with the scene. But I did have that initial reaction as soon as I heard the word thrusting. I was like, oh. But I think they were using like gyrating or something like that. They gyrated together or something, and I was like, "Ooh, that's a good word." So, um, and like they were entwined and stuff like that. I was like, "Okay, so we're kicking it up a notch." Um, I guess I'll give you the one use of thrusting as long as you don't ever do it again. Um, but yeah, definitely open a thesaurus, guys. When you go to thrust and see what else you can use for thrust. Um, or I don't know, just read some of those steamy romance novels from that Fabio was always on the cover of. I'm sure those have some really interesting adjectives. I'm sure he's not always thrusting. Um, anyway, uh, my note to sighted people about Dune Prophecy, I know this isn't like the best recap. There are people who recap this thing for like over an hour. When people come onto my channel and they're like, your shit is too long. And I was like, you realize there are people out there who have recaps that are longer than the thing they're actually recapping? Because that's the thing. And I listen to them, by the way. It just depends on if you want to and how interested and involved are you in the product. So my last little bit of advice here in terms of just audio description and sighted people, high sighted people. If you're here, if you're blind, great, I love you. Please never underestimate your gift of facial recognition. It is such a gift in shows like this because what you see when you come in here and you're like, what are you talking about? It's not confusing. I'm able to, yeah, because you can fucking see their faces. You know what I'm saying? Like, I used to be able to do the same thing where I'd watch a show with a giant cast and a bunch of like background characters and those like recurring characters that are in like an episode. And I was like, oh yeah, that dude in the back, he was in there like 5 episodes ago. He didn't even have a line. He doesn't have a line now, but I recognize him. They're using the same background talent. And you get those little things when you have facial recognition where characters don't even need names. And you just like, oh yeah, that's the guy. That's the guard from earlier, you know? But unfortunately, in audio description, we either get a description of a person without a name. So I'm always tracking down the man with the long-haired brown man, the brown-haired long man, or long brown-haired man, or whatever. I don't know. Or the woman in the red dress. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, okay, so if I'm just giving a lot of descriptors, that doesn't help when you get too many of those. But then when I get a whole bunch of names for underdeveloped characters, that's not great because then they're still underdeveloped. So I don't know who they are, and I don't know why I should need to know them. And this show is just throwing a lot at you, and it's just really hard for blind people to follow it. So that's just the way it is. It's just that this is just a show that needs what this needs is what we got for All the Light We Cannot See, which is sort of like a little bit of an audio description companion that explained. Because if we could get that, and we could get this is this character, this is what they look like. This character, this is what they look like. You know what I'm saying? Like a breakdown. We could be introduced to them in advance. I would have context of what everybody looks like. I don't even know what these characters look like half the time. I'm like, I don't even know, but like name recognition. I was like, where were you before? Um, it's a struggle, but I refuse to rewatch any of these episodes. So I'm just going to keep struggling through the episode. Did I think episode 2 was better than episode 1? It did seem like we jettisoned some characters and it was a little less confusing, but not by much. And then it also felt like there were new characters. So it kind of feels about like the same. Um, I did think uh, I do clearly see that this is, you know, it's not TV, it's HBO, obviously. Well, I feel the HBO of it. Felt it in the first episode with the boiling people, and now we've got the sex scene, and you know, it's just I get it. I get what you're doing, and the agony sequence and stuff like that. But um, I don't know. I don't think this is better than the movies. I'm not like a huge fan. I did say that in my first recap. I didn't read the book. My first introduction to Dune was watching Denis Villeneuve's Dune, because of course I'll watch anything with Denis Villeneuve behind the camera. He's one of the greatest directors we have right now. So I just don't, the lore and stuff like that. And this is sort of based on that. And I get it. So I'm sure Dune fans have a deep perspective, but there are going to be a lot of people who are casual fans who just picked up on the movies and didn't read the book. So we all have perspectives, and I'm always honest about mine and my biases. So that's where I'm from, and I just find this show hard to follow. I'm trying. I mean, I watch shows without audio description. I come in here and talk about them, watch my Daryl Dixon reviews, and watch me try to explain what happened in Daryl Dixon with no audio description. And I have a deep understanding of Walking Dead knowledge. Like, it is really hard. So, from being able to see before I lost my vision. So, I'm going to give Dune Prophecy Season 1, Episode 2. I'm just going to give it the same grade I gave last week. I'm going to give it a B. I don't think it necessarily elevated or raised itself. It had some cool moments. It also had some moments that were frustrating. So it kind of balanced itself out again to like a B, basically. Some things worked better. Some things didn't work as well. Some moments of audio description were good. Some moments of audio description were like, I wish there was a way to do this better, but I know there's not. It's not even like I'm holding the audio description team, because at the same time, I'm like, I don't even know how I would do this differently. I just think this is a show that needs an audio companion. We talk about like, there's a thing called like extended audio description. I think the show could benefit from that. I don't know. I would try anything at this point to try to get this, but this is a challenge. And I think probably if you're a deep Dune fan and you're blind, you're probably watching these episodes more than once. But you shouldn't have to. And that goes back to the writing for the series. Anyway, that's it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. And I will see you guys on the other side.